Hello everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe. People of Earth, it's a brand new build on the bench, and I'm really excited about this one because I've contemplated pulling this out of the stash for a long time, and I keep putting it back, partially because it's more of a paint and lighting opportunity than it is a putting sprues together and building model. But I wanted a break from that. I like to mix it up a little bit. I like to mix up my spaceships with my cars, my vehicles, my sci-fi vehicles really, and of course my resin kits, which I always need a little bit of a break from. But I thought it was high time to do this. Now, there is a little bit of resin dust going on here because this is the, here it is. Look, it's the, it's Officer Kane from the movie Alien. And this is the Polar Lights resin model kit. Now, they made a couple of these. They did Kane, and they also did the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz, which I just picked up in North Carolina. Not easy to find, but the great Lou Del Maso took me to his local hobby shop, and they happen to have one on the shelf. So I just picked it up because I wanted to. I just wanted to have it. I think it's a fun thing. But anyway, I'm really excited about doing this. And what I've done is I've left it in the box. Now, this is not an unboxing, but I want you to see how this is packed and the quality of this. And then we'll sort of talk about what we're really going to do to kind of get this onto a display stand. And of course, we're going to light it. So let me remove the box top. Beautiful, beautiful box. Really. Of course, you think I would be organized at this point, but I'm not. Anyway, so let's sort of get down on this. This is what you see when you open the box, and so you peel back this piece of foam here, and the first thing you see is you've got a little decal set on top. I'll show you that here. That's your decals. Let me turn it around so it's not upside down. You get some icon badges, some control panels and things for his oxygen pack, some arm badges, and his name. So that's good. Very nice. So we'll put that aside for a second and carry on. The next thing you see is the instructions. Now, this is the instructions. It's like you see how the parts go together. And interesting, you do get a note at the bottom here that says normal plastic modeling glues will not bond this. CA or epoxy should be used to glue the parts together. So if you're not used to using CAs or epoxies for building, you need to be aware of that. And then it's got some colored call-outs, but that is not terribly helpful because these were under studio lighting with some very interesting colors. We'll go through that palette in just a minute. But there you go. There's your instructions. And as the great Lou Del Maso says, if you can't put this together, you need to put the model down and go get a book. He thinks that he doesn't understand why I think that's awesome. I'll never forget it. For him, it was a passing statement. For me, it was awesome. Anyway, okay, so those are your instructions. I'll set those aside. Let me put my decals there for a second. I don't want to lose them. And this is what you get. Beautifully laser cut foam in a really hefty box, because obviously these pieces they're solid resin, but they're fragile. And like I said, there's a little bit to deal with here, but we'll go through. I want to start with the head sculpt. Now, let me give you a close-up of the head sculpt. Here it is. I've after sort of doing some Google research and looking online, a lot of people have complained about this sculpt, and I do think you can actually get a 3D printed version of this, but I think this is more than fine. I'm not going to do any more, simply because once his face is in the helmet, and you know, even though you're lighting it up, it's more about the moment in time, I think, than it is his face sculpt, which is not terrible. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's not terrible. The other interesting thing is that in the frame from the movie, you can actually see there's some hair here that is coming down, and I might put that hair in. I have the ability to do that. I've got the ability to do that. I might put some tufts of hair in there, just to give it a little more of a realistic look. We can do that, because if we look at the frame from the film, you can see the hair is very visible in the from coming out from under the cap. So I thought that was interesting. So sometimes it's fun to accurize things in that way, and we certainly can, and it's not complicated. So there's the head. Here's the torso. Very, very clean. There's nothing to do here. There's a slight blemish right here, but you know, he's got a pack on the back, so I just need to sort of just take that down so the pack sits flush. But otherwise, there are no issues. The creases and the lines are quite clean. Everything is quite crisp, and it's quite hefty. It's quite hefty. So then we've got some other elements. Here's a hand. Very nice detail. Little bit of cleanup to do here, just a little bit. Nothing terrible, nothing major, but very crisp, very clean. Lots of details where the different elements of this suit come together. Lots of things here to dry brush and play with. So that's good. Here's another arm. Now, what's interesting here is you've got all these giant keys. So if I pull out the model, for instance, and I put this together, you can see you've got some freedom here. Now we've got a little bit of puttying to do to get that nice and clean, that seam nice and clean, but that won't be an issue because we know how to do that with our light curing epoxy putty, and it'll just work wonders on that. So it's one of those great uses of the epoxy putty. So that's cool. Here, let me show you the other arm. Oh, this is the leg. Here's the leg. Very nice. A real sense of movement, sort of fabric-y movement there, which I really like. And again, everything is keyed. Lots of detail. The fabric is really going to stand out. So with all of the different detailing and painting that we're going to be doing on this, which is quite substantial, lots to do. Here's the other hand. Again, very clean, very crisp. These pads, different colors and textures. Control panel. We can't get any light into that, I don't think, unfortunately. We're only going to be able to get it into the egg itself and the helmet. And in speaking of the helmet, here it is. And it appears to be made of a slightly different resin, but it's cast for sure. Lots of details. Lots of opportunities here to really put this together. So I'm really excited about that. Very crisp, very clean. So here's his air supply pack at the back here, and this keys into his back, as I said. So I think this goes on like that. Oh, and curiously, it does not cover that, but the helmet will, I believe. So yeah, so we don't. Oops, turn it around. So you don't have to worry about that little bit of blemish. There is a little bit of cleanup to do on the helmet, but it's very minimal, very, very minimal. It's just a light sanding. There's nothing untoward there at all. So I'm not worried about any of that. And let's look at this egg. I want to be careful getting this in and out of here, because I've noticed that it's a bit of a tight fit. Even though this is pretty solid, you could run the risk of snapping it. Now, they've packed other things inside the egg, and we'll look at those. But the egg is clear. So if I was to put a flashlight in there, you can see the opportunity we've got to light that up is going to be amazing. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. With the egg, so I'm really happy with the fact that we can do that. We've got some hoses here. Now I've got some rubber hoses that I think are not dissimilar to this. Here's his gun that goes on his side. So you've got that in here. Now here's another opportunity to light this, and I think we're going to do it. There is this flashlight. Here's the flashlight, and there's an opportunity to drill into here, get an LED in here, and have that on the base. So we're definitely going to light that up. Oh, and here's another piece, and I believe this is for the backpack. So we've got 3 opportunities here to light this. We've got perhaps even 1 or 2 on the back here, on the oxygen back here, maybe a blinky or some flashing lights. I don't know. We'll take a look. It really depends on how we're going to run our wires. And the final bag that was in the egg is your clear parts, which I don't want to take out because I don't want to scratch them. But they're for the lens of the flashlight, some little chips for some of the other elements on the oxygen tank, and of course his mask. And there are 2, it looks like it should be 3 pieces to this mask. Yeah, there's three pieces to this mask. Pretty cool. So lots to consider there. Let me put everything back into there, but I'm not gonna shove it back in the box. I'm gonna leave it on the bench for a minute, because what I wanted to do was also talk about this, which is we've all seen this. This was a classic, and I think you can still find these on eBay. I used to collect them. Big fan of this magazine. Sadly, no longer in print. The Sci-Fi and Fantasy Modeler. Oh, I used to literally drool. I had a subscription and could never wait for it to arrive. It was always pretty exciting. But volume 37 of Sci-Fi and Fantasy Modeler, the front cover, you had scratch-built Jawas, a studio scale TIE fighter, and in the bottom corner, you had that Alien Kane exclusive, right? So interestingly enough, I noticed that there was a commercial in here for the model. I thought I had seen that. It's somewhere further up. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So there was a commercial in it for Polar Lights to actually, they advertised this. So I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, you have the whole setup. Now, interestingly enough, it goes through the whole build-up. So it sort of helps me understand how a pro put this together and how it was lit. Now, curiously, this was quite a few years ago now. I'm not sure when this was published. Looking to see if I can see if there's a publishing date on here. 15. 15, right? So in that period of time, boy, have we come a long way in terms of in terms of how we light things, right? So I think just putting my thing down, get rid of some of that glare. There we go. So I think we can do a lot better in terms of some of the lighting opportunities because we have access now to these nano chip SMDs with very fine lines, very fine. So that's really cool, but it is helpful to see how they went about it. And now, curiously, they've cut into the body. They really dug into the body so that they could get lights to the pack. So that's good to know. There's a lot of effort made here to make sure they had pass-throughs for the wires. But interesting here, look at the size of this wire. Really quite thick. I thought, we don't need to worry about that anymore. We've got thinner wire, but I do think it's interesting that what they had to deal with, and they did it. Now, interestingly enough, he's created a plywood riser, which I think we'll have to do. We'll cut one on the bandsaw, and that allows us to drop our base in here. Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the base is in the bottom of this. If I pull this out, pull this up like so. Let me put this behind me for just 1 second and pull the base out so we can see the base. So that's here, and that corresponds to this base here. Here it is. Lots of opportunity here to get all of those wonderful tentacles and things, and really create some oozing coming out of the egg. Lots to play with there, so that's exciting. And interestingly enough, I'm noticing here in the side of the box, just there on the angle. Let me pull this last piece of foam out so we can see this. Is paint callouts, what the colors are. Very helpful. And some information about dry brushing. So I really appreciate that I can get some sort of basic info on paint. And the paint chart, interestingly enough, the call-outs help you. You can use Vallejos, Tamillas, Humbrals, Panzers. So really helpful. Lots of information on color, and I really appreciate that. And lots of details where the battery pack goes. Now, obviously, it looks like they're using 3 volts. I don't know. I'll probably use 9. It depends on, because if we're using flashes and other things, I might need a little more oomph. But this shows you how it's all put together, and how using these long barbecue sticks, as they've done here, to give you a clear understanding of how the wires are pulled. That's really helpful. Really helpful. It's very cool to do that. And it's interesting here. I'm reading that there was a problem of where to put the power supply. LEDs use very little energy, so it was mounted with small screws ready for final wiring underneath, and so they explain it here. And there's a wonderful chart here. This is really cool. Look at this, to sort of help you understand it. Now, there's a lot of you going, Phil, this is not rocket science. I know, but here's what I appreciate about this is I don't have to think that hard about how I'm going to do it. If I have a lighting plan that's solid, I think it's going to make my build a lot more enjoyable. And for a lot of us out there, me included, who are not super proficient at electrics, we can do it, we understand it, you know, we've got the basics down. I'm trying to get better, but this is really helpful. So I'm glad we have it. Okay, some wonderful information here about how things were detailed out. Lots of patinaing, where the nameplate goes, what the base colors are, how it's painted. It goes into great detail about all of that. So I'm really, really thrilled that we've got all of this reference material and how things were actually done and how the hugger was built that goes inside the egg. And then, of course, all the exterior parts and how they were detailed out. And here's an opportunity here, I think, to try and get some light in here, maybe behind this gauge, or maybe behind these little elements here, where we can maybe get some blinkies going on. I don't know. We'll really take a hard look at that. And then the helmet itself and how the light was put into the helmet, how the gun was painted, how the flashlight was put together, and all these various different elements. Super, super helpful. And then, wow, some incredible detail here about all of the various different colors. Super helpful, because this is the actual filming photos, and it's this was the actual uniform. So it just does not get any better. We're going to get some wonderful light, I think, out of the helmet. Now we've got solar res, so we can put crystal clear lens on here, and that should be good. So we've got we know how to do that. And then it starts to show you how it was all put together, and ultimately you come up with this wonderful, beautiful, just a beautiful presentation on the end there. And you can choose to either do the face hugger, or you can put the egg. How you could not use the egg, I don't know, but you have a choice. You could either use the face hugger, or you can use the egg. Or maybe we can do a combo of the both, cut that up a little bit and drop it in, so when it glows, when it's glowing just as it goes out, when it brightens up, you see the hugger inside, and then in shadow, and then it goes to dark. That could be really cool. Really love the way the flashlight here, love the way the flashlight hits the here. There. Love the way the flashlight hits the egg. Very cool. Very cool. So lots to think about, lots to do. I'm pretty excited about this build. And I think it's probably going to be a couple of parts, because we're already half hour into the show, and I don't want to finish this build in I want to take my time with this, because I've got all the resources. So I'm pretty excited. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at what needs to be drilled out and cleaned out for wiring, and that's the next segment we'll take a look at, is chewing up a little bit of this resin. Oh, got to get some breathing apparatus out, because we're drilling into resin. I don't, you know the routine, but it's not terrible. It's controlled, so we should be okay. Okay. Thrilled you're along on this build with me. Let's go have some fun. So I'm really enjoying the challenge of this build, because primarily it's about light and color. It's not so much about the build itself. But because this was a kit that was put out by Polar Lights, all the resin pieces are in relatively good shape. They're clean, they're crisp, There's not a lot of stuff that has to be ground down and cut off. Having said that, if you want to light this, you're going to have to drill into this cavity here of the chest. There's no way around it. This chest piece, now you can see here that as of now, what this is for is to key in your backpack, your sort of breathing system. But what we have to do is we've got to chew this all out, remove this plug, this key here, so that we've got a way to bring light into the backpack. So that's one thing that we're considering. The other reason why you've got to chew this out is because you need a way to bring your light down through. It's going to come through the legs and it's going to come directly into the base. And so that is a consideration. On the other hand, the helmet consideration is interesting as well. You've got light for here. Now, the simple way to do this, and what I'm going to do, is just take a little saw, cut this off, drill my holes in, drop my light in, and that with my other light, which is going to be from the faceplate here to light up his face a little bit, and of course a little bit of light here for the rear. You're supposed to have red, blue, green on the back here. I don't know if I'm going to do that with fiber optics or some other way. I'm not sure yet. But all of that happens in here. Now the good news is that his head, let me get this on the torso for you so you can kind of get a sense of what goes on. The helmet is extremely oversized, and that's for obvious reasons, right? During production, you want to be able to see the face for expressions. Typical director like Ridley Scott wanted it as big as possible. Makes perfect sense. So we've got plenty of room to get all of our light in. The wires will be down the back. We can hide those a little bit if we want to. And then, of course, the head will drop in. And as you can see, once the head is in, it does hide a lot of what's going on in the background. And we can take that into the blacks so that you don't see it. So I've got plenty of room. I've also got room in the front here for a piece of clear resin that is also has some control surfaces on it, but primarily it's to light up his face. So that is where I wanted to sort of bring you in on this segment, because that's the challenge of this kit. It's, as I said, it's light and paint. So what I've done is I took this clear piece and I light blocked it, and I dropped in a Pico SMD from Evans Design. Wonderful things, dropped in beautifully, and that left me with this. And so all I need to do now is just sort of test this and make sure that I'm in pretty good shape. I think I am. I think we're going to be fine. But let me get this fired up here and you can see. And there it is. And we've got excellent light blockage there, as you can see. So, and it's nice and punchy. So that is going to hit his face quite beautifully. So I'm super happy with that. I think that went very well. And so I should be able to now attach that to the inside of this helmet, and we'll be in good shape. I'll do a little bit of dry brushing on these control surfaces. You're not going to really see them, but I'll do some dry brushing, and that takes care of that. Beautiful. No problems at all. And I found that when you need to do overall surface light blocking, yes, your go-to, your standard is obviously your black tulip, right? It's a great light blocker. It's a fabric paint is what it is. But you can also use Mr. Hobby's black surfacer. It's you know, the gray we use it in this form, right, for surface puttying. It's a great product for that. It's basically an extremely thick paint. But the Mr. Hobby Surfacer 500 or 1500 or 1000. They're also great light blockers as well. And when you've got large surfaces like this, I find that the Mr. Hobby works better than the Tulip because you'll leave more detail on the surface of your piece. Just my opinion. Okay, so we can get some dry brushing on those control surfaces, and that's going to look pretty genius. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's a result. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. Let me get in close. This gets cut off. I have to drill into the back so I can get light to the rear here. And I've also got I'm going to put in a little white or maybe a green and blue in the bottom here. There's already an opening for one clear part, but I think two will kind of balance it out, and I just think it'll look a little more dramatic. So we're going to drill that out, and we'll get a different color in each of those. So we need light to the top here, and I think we may do that. I'm not sure how we're going to do that. I have to think about it. I think I know, but I have to just triple check here. Because the easiest way to do it would be just to get a little bit of masking, right? Get the clear piece, mask 4 quadrants, black it out, put one light in there, and then with my Tamiya clears, I can hit those red, blue, green, yellow, and that should do the job. So that would take care of that. I've got little SMD chips for the bottom here, and I know that all I need to do is get a light here for the top, and what I'll do is I'll probably use, in fact I know I'm going to use one of these little lights here, and we'll drop that in. It'll be plenty bright, and then we'll fill the rest of it up with clear resin, and we can soften that if we need to. We can dull that down if we need to. I'm not sure we'll need to, but you can also use your light curing putty, because that's not clear, so you'll get a little bit of frosting from it, and I think that might be a good thing, because it might be just too in your face. I don't know. So let's cut that off, drill out these holes, and get all the lights in or ready for these elements, and then we'll take a look at this helmet, and we'll see what we've got. I thought I'd pop in real quick just to memorialize what I've done here. I removed the light from the top of the helmet with just a little one of these saws. Very simple to do. Came out nice and clean. I then drilled a couple of holes in the bottom of the actual piece. There they are. And then I took my little 1.8 mil LED, and I just bent the wires through. They're very soft, as long as your holes are big enough. I fed it through, pulled them out, and I've tested that. I've got a little battery here, so I've tested it. That's looking really good. And so what I'm going to do now is get just a little bit of masking material I had left from one of the Aztec dummy kits. Very handy, don't ever throw them away. And I've just dropped that in now to the top there, where I have filled that cavity with my Solares. And so now all I have to do is just hit this with my Mr. Hobby Black, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to light block this, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, that's a result. And again, my Mr. Hobby Surfacer 1500 perfect light blocker. Absolutely wonderful, no issues at all. I'm very happy with that, very happy. Might want to diffuse it a little bit, but I'd have to say that's a result. A quick update here for all of us. A lot's been going on, but I think I'm almost there in terms of getting Kane wired up. Here's the helmet, and I'm going to attempt to get some light on this for you. I've been rehearsing this all morning. No, I'm joking. Let me just see if I can get my fingers on it like this. Okay, so the headlight is on. If I turn it around, we've got this light inside the control panel of the face mask, and that's going to give some nice glow to his face. And then in the back, I've put a green and a blue light. Oh, and I've got a well, hang on, let me unplug this for a second, because I haven't taken this off. How quickly we forget. So what I've got to do here is I've got to get some Tamiya clear for in here, and that'll be red, blue, green, yellow. But that's lit as well. Let me show you, if I can show you. I hope everything hasn't fallen apart here. One sec. I probably should just go ahead. Why I haven't just turned on my transformer and done it that way, I don't know. But, you know, I'm lazy. So there you go. So that's going to be fine. I've got a couple of little dingy light leaks you'll see there and stuff like that, but they, for the most part, should go away when I put my bronze on. So I'm ready to give this a coat of paint. I'm super happy with that. So that's good to go. Now, what happens is there are several other lights too. I've put a light here in. I've covered these all up, but they've got little masks on them, but I'll remove them. And I've got a mask here, but this is all going to get painted black again for light blocking, and then we'll put the bronze and the patina on it, because we'll just get a better result if we do a base coat of the black. So that's ready to go. The backpack then drops into the rear of this torso right here. Now, this wire is the main. This is coming up through his knee, which I've drilled into, which will drop into the base. And so that's all ready to go, and that brings power up to here. Now all the rest of my wires have to cram into the backpack, and then the backpack drops in. Let's see here, make sure I've got it the right way up. Yeah, I do. And the backpack's going to drop on like that. And then the head, the face mask, I've got to push all my wires through that opening here, and this is hidden by the helmet. Everything will be completely hidden, as you can see, by the helmet. So I should be, in theory, I should be ready to go in terms of putting him together so that he can be painted. Now, I feel like he needs to be together, but I need to put some base coat on elements so that I'm not fighting this. But I know, for instance, that this can go together. I can put this together, and I should be okay doing that. And then everything else I'll play with as we go here. Just notice there's a little bit of schmutz right there that I'll clean up. But so now I've got all the elements ready to go. I've got a light ready to go in his flashlight. I'll show you that right quickly here. So there's that. Now I've got it. It's a very weak 3-volt because I have not I've not resisted this yet, so I haven't been able to do that. But that is ready to go, and it's all light blocked, so that's good. So I have a light in my flashlight, my helmet lights are all in, and my backpack lights are all in. So now I've got to just start working on base coat. Now I can't do my egg just yet because I've ordered a couple of more lights from Evans, and they'll take a couple of days to get here, but that's okay. We're not in any hurry, but I've got a plan for this that I'm pretty excited about. And then the only other thing I wanted to quickly talk about is I'm thinking about removing the 2 heart valves here, drilling them out, cleaning them up, and putting in these breathing lights, and then putting back some clear, and then just painting over that, and you'll just get the faint, you'll get this sort of faint movement of color in there. You're not going to see it too well, but I think hidden inside of here, with, you know, you'll just start to see movement. You'll see some motion, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give it all some motion. Okay. A couple of things I've got to do now is I've got to start getting some base coat on this uniform, and I've got to start getting some paint on the various elements. And I've got to, you know, they're brass, and then they're patinaed. So it's a very interesting color scheme, and I'm having flashbacks to my Talos. We also used this scheme a little bit on, you know, the Nautilus build, and on my Doctor Who 8th TARDIS interior, where I put it on the beams that held up the center of the console. So I've done various versions of this. So now it's just a question of getting some paint on things. So I'm going to start doing that. And then we'll take a look at, I'll start with the helmet, I think, and then we'll take a look at the helmet after I've got it painted, and maybe before I have it patinaed, so we can see a before and after of that. Okay, I'm punching back in quickly here because I'm just super excited about what's happening here. Now, I've got this paint from Plaid. Now, I bought it in the discontinued section at Michael's, so I don't know if it's made anymore, but this is called FX. It's Mutant Shift. It's a flexible acrylic paint. I'll show you the label real quick while I'm painting. Here it is. This is what it looks like, and what I'm super happy with is the fact that the way it's going on, it's got this really nice kind of aged down feel to it. So I think that this is going to work a charm. Now, I did put a black base coat of my Mr. Hobby 1500 surfacer. I did that primarily for light blocking because it's fantastic. And this is interesting because it's a flexible sort of paint that you can also use on fabric. So I'm having a feeling that that kind of skin will also help me tremendously with light blocking. Let's take a look how this is going on. It's quite something. And I think you'll agree that even in this light, it's got a really wonderful feel to it. So I couldn't be happier with that. I really couldn't. It's just perfect. Now, obviously, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a little patinaing to it. But holy moly, I'm happy with this. And I wasn't sure. I did a little test. I was doing a little test. But I wanted to jump on camera and show you this being laid on. Now I'm brushing on, obviously, because there's so many nooks and crannies here, and this is just a really easy way to do it. But boy, howdy, is this working out really well. So this is going to be my base for all the bronze areas that I need, and I'm keeping my detail too. So that is a absolute result. I'm going to keep on plowing along here, but I did want to punch in and show you that. Okay. Happy with this base coat. This is the Tamiya XF4 yellow green. For the base coat, very happy. It's going on very well. No issues whatsoever. And I'm liking it. Now it's going to lighten up a little bit, but that's okay because we're going to wash it, darken it down, add some other colors, and it's just the first coat. I just wanted to get some color on here and see what we were up against, but no, very happy with it. Very happy with it. It's going to work really well. Now in this light, it's going to look way too yellow, but I assure you, it's got some dark tones to it. It's a cold color. But by the time we've got our washes on here and we've done everything else we're doing, this is going to be just perfect. So I couldn't be happier with it. I thought about bringing it down a little bit with some black, but it doesn't need it. We can do that with the washes. So I'm gonna sort of just keep going, and we'll get a coat on everything, and then we'll take a look at that. I tried a little bit of the pale blue, and I'm sort of going to go back here and there and add that, so it's just another level of color. But I'm really happy with this chroma. It's called, this particular color is called Patsy Green. This is a company out of Florida that these are basically urethane acrylic car paints that they're selling. Great coverage for certain things. Some things it loves, some things it doesn't. But for this particular application, I'm really, really happy with it. So we're getting a really nice patina on here, and I just couldn't be happier. I think it's really working, and this color shift paint is also working. So this is sort of the angle of attack, but I think overall it's coming together really well, and I really like the way this particular paint is working on this, and it's giving me the exact effect that I wanted, and it looks pretty darn close to what I'm seeing on the production photo of the actual suit itself. So couldn't be happier. So I'm gonna keep working. I've got base coats on everything, and we'll come back when I'm picking out a little more color. Wanted to jump in quickly to talk about the patinaing process for the helmet, the shoulder pads, and the environmental protection system / breathing apparatus for his rear. Anything that's this. I'm using my wonderful go-to quick shades from Army Painter. I'll show you quickly. We've talked about these before. This is the green tone that I'm using, and I just wanted to show you this going on because it's picking up a lot of the blues and the greens from the acrylic paint, and it's just really popping it. Now this is going to dry obviously, but I'm liking that green, and it's very reminiscent of the actual helmet, production helmet, and I'm very pleased with this. I think it's adding a really nice look and finish to these brass parts. So if you are going to be doing this, I do recommend you thinking about these washes, because I think they do a fantastic job. I really do. And now they dry. They're going to dry back quite a bit, so you don't have to worry. But I do think that it's a nice element to add. So I'm gonna continue plowing on with that. I wanted to show you that because I just think it's important to see some of the steps so anyway, I'm gonna plow on with this detail, and I'm gonna continue the patinaing on all of my parts. I've got the helmet I'm working on, the environmental pack I'm working on, and which I haven't patinaed yet. This front piece here I've done, but I haven't weathered it yet, and I've got a little bit of blacking that I've got to put in here, and just a little more dry brushes, but that's coming together as well. I've got all of my arms and limbs dried overnight, so I'm going to continue to pick away at those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just keep popping in on these moments so that we can see the progression of the paint job. Because I think it's really valuable to see some of this. It helps me to sort of build my confidence on color blending and trying to sort of build up the effects of paint, which I think is just it's awesome if you think about it in those terms. So we'll just continue to sort of chip away at these moments and show you my progress. When you're doing detail work like this, I always feel like you're bound to be touching up constantly. Just because sometimes I think it's hard to get things perfect on the first go round. But that's okay. That's all part of it. You know, as you're just sort of blocking in the color and you're looking at all the details, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, where could I add a little bit of contrast? Where can I add a little bit of more of something else so that it's not just one monotone color? So I wanted to punch in here on this because one of the things that I'm doing is adding some, sorry, I'm being very quiet here. I'm adding some texture to this belt. And the way I'm doing that is I'm just introducing, while it's wet, a little bit of my sand. Let me get my fat head out of the way, and I can do this. Try to do this on camera, and you just sort of blend it in. And what it'll do is it'll just add a little bit of, adds a little bit of shadow and contrast to the belt, so that it's not just one monotone color. Because as I always say, things in nature, like real leather or fabrics or what have you, they're not one color. And so by adding a little bit of that contrast, you can start to sort of pick it up. And I like to do that with my belts especially, so that they're not one color. I'm working on the breastplate, and there's an overvest that goes under the main suit, and then there's going to be white straps on top of that with white laces, and then all of this has to be patinaed, and then all of it will have to get a wash. But what I have to make sure is that I don't do that overall wash until the legs and the head are in place, so that everything blends nicely. But I am pretty happy with where I am on this build. It's really all about details now. I'm blocking in the color. I've tested the lights on the helmet, and they are working perfectly. The only thing I've got to do, which I didn't do, and it's just a reality of this build, is in order to get all the wires bundled into here, I've got to remove, here's my backpack, my environmental tank. I've got to remove this, I guess it's a locator pin. It has to come out, because otherwise it'll fill too much of this void and I won't have enough room for my wires. So that was something I forgot to do, and I'm going to do that as soon as everything is dried, because I've got to cut into that resin, and it makes an awful mess. It really does. It's still resin, and if you're going to light it, you're just going to have to deal with that. Okay, I'm going to continue on with the details on the torso. From the Department of Things You'll Never See comes some very interesting details. You will see a lot of it. That's not true, but I'm sort of punching in on the details now. We've got these very interesting, which I can only describe as, they look like cricket pads, and they sit on the outside of these of the knees, and then there are these straps, and they'll be gray, that are wrapped around it. This will sit in this position, so we're not going to see an awful lot, but we're going to see this. This is the sort of profile, so obviously you don't see the hole, but it's an interesting color. Now, I've chosen to use my Insignia Gray, in the Vallejo Insignia Gray. It's a white. It's my go-to Star Wars base color. It's a white that has it dries with a little bit of gray in it. So I'm going to use that for my base, and when I come back for my second coat, I'm going to hit that with just a little bit of the white. If it goes too gray, but I don't think it will with under this green. I think it'll hold up quite well. So let's just do a little painting on camera. I'm going to keep my mouth shut, and we're just going to paint. Now, I should say there's going to be like a little braid or cord that goes around that, which is sort of a brownish color. So I will put that in as a fine detail at the end. You wondered how long that was going on, didn't you? It's okay. Wasn't too long. But I just thought it was, I don't have any classical music to play while I'm painting. And I'm afraid I'm not a modeler who just only shows you hands. I don't know. That's just not me. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it's not me. Okay, so I'm going to continue working on these cricket pad knee pads. I've got some for the elbows too, which is drying over here. I've put let this down for a second so you can see these. So I've done my brass, and I'm going to come along and I'm going to put these pads on too. I need them on the arms. So again, continuing to work on details. So it's fun. And I also, again, not to sound like a broken record, but I thought it'd be fun to sort of see the progression of this, so that when we finally get to the very end, you'll have gotten a little taste of how I've detailed it. And then the next thing we're going to have to start talking about is this base, because it's complex. And I don't mean complex in a Star Wars 1350 refit complex. I mean just in terms of getting it right. You've got you got to figure out, well, if that battery goes, I just want to be able to replace it. I don't want to destroy the whole model. What's an easy way to get in and out? So we'll talk about that just a little further down the line. But now we're just going to concentrate on Kane and really try to bring him to life. It's one of those weird mornings. I can't explain it. Now, just to sort of clarify, when I produce my shows, I don't do day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. I sort of let it all blend together, because sometimes I think it's important for people to know, well, how long do you think it's going to take me to build this model? Just because I think some people like to put a clock on things, and then others go, no, I come to the bench when I want, it'll be finished when it's finished, and I think that's awesome. So however you choose to model, I love it. I just care that you're modeling. That's all that I care about. But this morning I say it's weird because I sat down going, okay, I'm going to do decals this morning. They're not huge, they're baby decals. So it shouldn't take very long. But, you know, I've got a fly that's going right in front of my face. It's like a fly is photobombing my show. Anyway, and I'm sort of laying the pieces down, and I'm looking at them, and I'm going, oh, well, that needs touching up. So I put my brush out, and I'm just picking up a little bit of this braiding, which at first I thought was gold, but it turns out it's actually brown according to the instructions. But I think I'm okay now. I just had to sort of do a double take just to make sure that everything was as it should be. I've been putting a few highlights on the belt just because I hate flat paint. You know, like nothing in nature is flat and one color. Even if it looks like it's one color, it isn't. So I just sort of been picking that up, and then I'm just doing a little bit of blending there, just on this belt here, just adding a little tone. It makes a difference. It doesn't look so painted on. So there, and I think that buckle needs something. I'm going to have to look and see what that buckle is. But anyway, I digress. So I'm going to be doing decals here in just a second. I apologize. I'm just, you're hanging out. You don't mind hanging out for a minute, do you? Come on. It can't all be fun and games. No. Okay. I'm good. I'm happy. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more sort of pickety-boos to do. Now, I'm going to put my decals on, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about weathering pastels, because I'm going to be using those on here. I watched the film again last night, and it's really interesting when you start to look at a film without listening to the story. You're just looking at the backdrop, you're looking at the elements, you're looking at the characters, you're looking at color, you're looking at clothes and sets and how things look. It changes your perspective, sometimes in a bad way, but it's fun. It's fun, and that's a big part of it. And when Kane, gung-ho as he is, decides to drop down, you know, he's found what I guess everybody refers to as the jockey room. You know, there's that sort of alien creature on its machine, like in that circular room, and he finds the hole, and he's going to drop down into the hole. He's gung-ho to do it. Me, I'd be so far gone from there. I mean, even Ripley knew enough to go out and get him. But I don't know. That was a group of very sketchy characters there. And so anyway, down he goes, and he discovers the egg room, right? And it's interesting because some of the close-ups of things. Now remember, when he's dropped down into that room, he's sort of been scuffing against things. There were, God knows how long it had been there. It wasn't a super clean room. This was a very sort of dystopian world in a sort of weird kind of way. And then, of course, when he slips and he slides down into the egg tray area, he's picked up an awful lot of dirt. There's a close-up of his hand, and nothing is pristine on it. It's all pretty dirtied up. And, of course, with the lights being as dark as they are, it's extraordinary how much color was actually on these suits. But if you think about it in weird sort of ways, if you go back and you just details like the patches, their Nostromo patches, have this rainbow color around them. They're sort of happy patches. So color palette was a very interesting thing for this production. And so it kind of made sense to me that these suits would be as out of this world as they are. But of course, in production, all the lights are down, everything's down, it's dank, it's dark, and all of that kind of fades into the background. So you don't get as much of it. But for us, we're producing a model. It's a piece of art, right? We're looking at it. It's a visual representation of a moment. So we have to produce some of those elements ourselves if we want to get in the mode. Now, you don't have to. You can make it pristine and beautiful. It's your model. And I say, do with it what you want. It'll be awesome. But I'm going to dirty mine down in just a minute. So we'll talk about pastels. Right now, we're just picking up all of the various different decals. Now, I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing here. Here's my decal sheet. Not a lot. We'll get them all dropped on. And the one element now, you know, I've seen guys when it comes to the gauge here, and that gauge is going to drop into the environmental backpack. You know, his oxygen rebreathing system. It's black, so it should be fine on here. I don't think I'm going to be... Some people are using googly eyes, and I think that works perfectly. I'm going to be dropping a little bit of my light curing crystal clear in there because I think it will create a really nice effect. And I don't have a tremendous amount of success with those googly eyes. Mostly due to operator error, you know, getting the backs off of them. I have a whole kit for those, and they are great for certain things. But for this, I think I'm going to be using my Solarez light curing crystal clear for that lens. I think it'll be fine. On the other hand, now that I'm sitting here thinking, if it was plastic, you could scuff it or dirty it up a little bit. You certainly can with the Solarez as well. So maybe I'm second guessing myself. I don't know. Not a huge piece of information. You're watching me think as I'm building while I'm trying to produce something. It's bizarre, right? But anyway, it's all good. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so some are obvious, some are not. On this little set here, and I think that I'm going to start with his name, because let's give him a name before we go any further, and we know where that has to go. So off that comes, and I'm going to... Let's see here. I'm going to get myself some tweezers. Here we go. And I'm going to just stick that in the water for just a second here. Decals and I don't often get along. Sometimes they disintegrate. They do all kinds of wacky things. I don't know what to tell you. But we are going to make an effort here to get these decals to behave for us. So here we go. I'm going to pull this out now. Let it dry for a few seconds and we'll see where we go. Now, there are two parts here to this plate. There's the middle one, which is where Kane goes, and there's this top one, which according to this is let me see is what one is this? It's 2 and 3, it says. It's 3. Well, that's interesting. And 2. Got it. Okay, I understand. I see now. Got it. Got it. Okay, so we know where that goes. we know where that goes. So I'm going to put this in front of me because I have to do this correctly. So there we go. I'm trying to figure out the best place to put you. Oh, that's good. Let's put you there. You can see what's going on. And let me pick this up. And let me see if I can get this to... Oh, this one's torn already, guys. It's in 2 parts. Now, these are all decals, so... nothing surprises me. We're going to age this up. We'll be fine. But, wow. This will be fine. But isn't that something? Yeah, it just literally had torn on the. Now this is what happens when they dry out like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this positioned as best as I can, and we'll get a little bit of down on it. We'll try to get this into position. And then just leave it. That looks fine. Okay. Looking good. Now we've got one at the top here, and I'll let that settle down for just a little bit. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. And we'll get the next one on. And the next one is let's see. The next one is going to be 2 and 3. So 2 and 3 is down here. So I see this. It's a sort of winged little emblem, blue. So we'll get that out first. Now I know that they are disintegration in, you know, they're prone to disintegration. I'm going to be very, very careful about how long I leave this in water, number one. Just got to make sure that that back gets clear. You'll see it change color. And when it's not changing color, that's when you know that you've got problems, because oftentimes that means that the adhesive is gone and they're sort of blown up a little bit. But nevertheless, we will do our best here to get these on nicely. Let me cut this one out. This one is number 2, and that's right there. Now I have got, believe it or not, and this will not come as a shock to some of you who know me, I've got a pair of scissors that you're supposed to be able to sorry about that, just looking for my, there it is. I don't know why that happened. I'm going to leave that there for just a sec. They're supposed to be able to turn corners. I kid you not. Look, I'll show you. You've seen these. They work. They do work. Okay, so let me get this one down. I feel like I'm gonna just put a little bit on there so that I have a little bit, this time a little bit of lubricant, as it were. And There we go. Yeah, they're tearing. They're literally tearing. This one has just torn on me as well. How about that? Holy cow. This one wanted to tear in 3 places, if you can believe that. Thank goodness these little buggers are small enough that I don't have a lot of repositioning to do. Okay, I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to leave that alone. Yeah, these are definitely thrashed. Definitely thrashed. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to carry on because I know enough to know that I am more than capable of messing that up. I do it all the time. I go, oh, just needs just a little tweaky, and I have a twitch, and off it goes. So we're gonna, but we're gonna also be obviously setting this with some flat clear. There's no need to put a gloss coat on this. I'm not. These decals are just too small, and they don't need it, in my opinion. If you want to gloss coat it and then remat it again, you certainly can. And there's no reason why you shouldn't, because it'll only triple set your paint and make sure you're all good. I don't feel the need, so I'm just not going to. But I'm gonna just get this on here for us and pray that this little bugger doesn't blow up on me, because it's tiny, and I have a feeling it certainly could. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay, that is on there. So there we go. They're on. Now nothing's been aged yet. Nothing. It's just getting the decal on here. We're gonna age everything down appropriately and make it sort of blend into the background. But it's fun to start getting these decals on. Okay, I have got about 10 or 11 more to do. So I'm gonna plow on with the decals and then get those on. And once we've got all our decals on, we'll start looking at some weathering. I'm going to use some powders here to get some of the sort of the dirt effect on here. I'm going to do it with pastels. I think it's the best way to really sort of age this down. And then we'll look at some washes as well. But I want to get all of the decals on and the pastels on first, and then a little heavy, and then we'll see what we need to do with washes to pull all that in and blend it together. So we'll look at weathering in the next segment. So I'm using the Tamiya Weathering Master sets. I love these pastels. Now, you don't have to use these. There are so many different opportunities to pick up pastels, and it's the same thing. You know, you can get kits of them for, I think, a third of what you pay for these. I like the way they store. I like the way they're all organized, and it works for me. But it's not the only choice you have. There are many choices out there for pastels. I'm using the soot here, and I wanted to show you what happens. Now I've done one of my hands. The reason why I pop back in is I'm still working on my decals, but I realized that I had tested one just to make sure it was the right level of soot that I wanted, and I'm going to put my decal over that, and then I'm going to just do my washes and set everything, and then I'll come back, and if I have to dirty anything down a little more, I can. But I wanted to punch in here and just sort of show you, for those of you who have never used these, they're wonderful, and you can just sort of weather down your gloves like this, and I just sort of pick up, you know, sort of where would the hands grab something, and you know, where would something sort of scuff, and you get this wonderful effect. And then of course you can put washes in here which will pick up the finger lines. There's a decal going on here. It's going to be pushed back with some a clear coat, so there's an awful lot of layering that will go on to sort of soften all this and blend it all together. But I just wanted to show you how we're doing that. And then I'm picking it up too on the on everything, because it's making a really nice difference. It's pulling it back quite a bit, aging it nicely and blending everything together, and I really like that. So for me, that is working a charm, and I can just go ahead and do that in all the places that I want to, and just sort of making sure that I'm sufficiently getting everything weathered. And I think you'll agree that that's a pretty subtle look, but it will work. And with all the washes on it, this thing will really start to pop. So I just wanted to sort of share with you what I was doing, just in terms of how I was preparing this. By no means are my techniques the ones you should follow. I promise you, you will receive marginal modeling advice on this show. We'll have an awful lot of fun doing it. We're learning as we go. That's what I do every day I sit down. I'm learning. Some things will work, some things will won't. These are techniques that I've seen over the years or have been taught over the years, and I apply them sometimes with success, and sometimes it's a dismal failure. But that's the fun of this hobby, you know. It's not always going to be perfect. This is not the perfect channel. This is not the channel where you're close up on hands. It's all been beautiful, and then it goes on a turntable. No, we're in our workshops. We're on our benches. We're in our cobbles. Wherever we're building together. And the most important thing, we're having fun. You got to have fun. Okay, let's plow on. It's time to assemble Kane, and I've fed my power through the knee and out through the back. Obviously gave myself extra wire. And the reason why I want to put them together now is because if I need any puttying to do in the joints, and anything is sort of out of whack, it all needs to be one now. It can't be different elements. So I feel very comfortable sort of joining everything together. There's a pretty decent fit, so there's no reason why he won't go together. So that's what I'm doing now, and then once I've got him together, I should be able to should be able to see just exactly what needs to be blended where. Now, if sort of overpacking a little bit with the CA, because I find that it makes a good filler, sometimes it can ooze up a little bit, and that's a good thing. But it is exciting to see them come together, and I'm pretty happy with what I've got. You can see here that we've got, where we've got a seam and we've got cleanup we have to do, and that's all fine. That's all part of getting this together. So I'll get a little light curing putty in here, and then we'll clean up this seam, and that should go away. So I'm very happy with that. Let me get the other arm on. Just make sure I've got a good. Yeah, I've got a good direction on that. So I will glue this up. The nice thing about these big deep keys is it really does help when you've got perhaps a little bit too much paint on everything, but that's to be expected. And I find that not to be a terribly huge issue. Let me just hold this together like this. Yeah, I can see here that I'm going to have an issue just in terms of the seam, but that's okay. Got a little bit of a little kicker in there just to kind of help that hold itself, and we'll let him dry. And I can see here at the back where I've got an issue. Well, it's not an issue. It's just it's a cleanup that I have to do. Where where you can see here where the back of this should be brass. So we'll get that all painted up and dialed in, and we'll get a look at that seam. It's not terrible. It's not terrible, but it is noticeable right here. So I think we'll get a little paint in there, and I think that should be fine. I don't think that is going to be too much of an issue for me. But I'm pretty happy with how he's coming together. So that's good. That's a good thing. Okay, let's get him over here like that. Okay, and then here is Kane's head, which I've been working on, and obviously the helmet has to go on first, but it's looking good. It's looking real good. So okay. So the next thing I'm going to do now is just concentrate on these seams, get everything cleaned up, and any touch-ups that I need to do, I'm going to do. And then the helmet does have to go on and be sealed before the head goes in. But we're going to take a quick look at the glass situation, because I believe everything goes from the outside, but I want to make triple sure that I've got that correct. So we'll clean up all these seams, and we'll get some washes on him, and then we'll take another look. I've been working on some more washes. One of the washes that I just love is, I don't know if it's available anymore, to be honest with you. It's the Flory models. There's a wonderful channel, Flory. They used to make sanding sticks and other things like that. There's their website. I embarrassed to say I haven't been on it in a while, so I don't know. worth checking out. It's water-based. It's clay, essentially. It's clays, different colored clays in water. Dries pretty quickly, and then it can be completely removed or, broken down with water. And you get a really nice effect. The net result is I'm getting a nice blending of everything here. Let me get you a little closer. And what I'm doing now is I'm just going to go through the whole thing and clean it up. And you just do that with some water and a Q-tip. So you see this area right here, and you keep working it until you get the desired effect. And if you don't like it, you can wipe the whole thing off. But Kane was pretty he was pretty dirty. If you look at the film, he was pretty dirty. There was nothing clean about that model, that set. And again, when he fell into the hive where all the eggs were, you could see some close-ups, and he was pretty banged up, and he was pretty dirty. So it's looks good when you can get that effect. So I'm super happy with that. It's blending together really nicely. Just a little bit of cleaning up to do, and then I'll go back one more time, I think, with perhaps a little bit of the black, just to pick out some of the other details, the black wash. And then I think I'll put I'm going to put some of the weathering powders on his face, on Kane's face. And then I think we can start concentrating on the egg and the face hugger inside, that detail, and start looking at how this base is going to be put together. And I've got a little surprise up my sleeve for how I'm going to present this, which I'm hoping, if it all comes together, it should look pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to keep weathering, cleaning it up, adding a few more of the pastels. And then, by the way, if you use the weathering pastel powder, the bronzes and the coppers and the gunmetals on the brass, it polishes it up a little bit. It's really fun, and it works. So I just discovered that. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with the washes. And then I think we'll take a look at him on the base and start talking about how I'm going to light this egg up. I've got an order into Evans for some breathing ambers, which I think I'm going to use inside my egg. I'm hoping they arrive in the next day or two, because otherwise I'm going to have to carry on without it, and that would be a drag. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to set it aside and wait either, but it did say it shipped, so I'm hoping in the next day or two I will not only get my lights, but my other surprise that's coming for this. I'm very, very excited about that. Okay, let us carry on. Washes are going on well. Helmet is pretty much done, and I'm happy with my helmet. Got a little bit of little bit. I'm going to wait and let everything dry and settle in, and then I'm going to see. I've got to put a lens. I'm going to put a lens cap on my evaporator heater, but I mean oxygen tank, environmental suit thing. I don't know what you call it. Very happy with that. I think Kane's face is pretty good for me, and we're not going to see an awful lot of it. I'm gonna actually put a few more just dusts in here just to wash that up, but I'm relatively happy with him. And Kane's body is has come together really well, so I'm couldn't be happier with that. So that is progressing. And I think we're going to call it for today. I think that's... look at me trying to find the camera for you. It's really sad. Yeah. So I don't know why I'm struggling so much. There we go. I don't know why I'm struggling so much, but I'm struggling. But it's all good. Looking good. I'm super happy with it. Then I'm going to get a sealer coat on all of this, let it all dry, get a sealer coat on it, and then we're going to focus on the base. Lots to do on the base, lots to do on the egg, and of course, final. But we'll do that in the next update. I think that's more than enough for this update. I don't want my shows to end up being longer than Birth of a Nation. Not good. Okay, so there we go. Part 1 of Executive Officer Kane from the 79 movie Alien in the can. Look forward to our next visit when we can, I think, finish this up on the next update for sure. So there you go. As always, if you want to reach out to me, I'm spruverse@gmail.com. You can follow my daily Instagram in the weeds kind of photographs and whatever I'm thinking or what's on the bench or whatever. That's Spruverse on Instagram. And as always, I wish all of you, please, be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.